What's going on, everyone? So, James Harden, no secret, wants to be traded, is very likely to be traded at some point this season. He's kind of been hiding out and holding out and kind of, he played one practice, showed face, and since then, he's been a no-show. And Daryl Morey has tried to trade him where he wants to go to the Los Angeles Clippers, and so far, nothing's gotten done. And there have been a lot of reports and a lot of talks that, hey, look, like the Clippers, they don't want to give up a bunch of stuff for James Harden. And Daryl Morey's talking about how, like, they're not serious, right? Clippers are actively trying to get other draft picks and they're trying to do X, Y, and Z to go get James Harden. And Daryl Morey's like, they're not being serious. Like the conversations, the discussions that we're talking about, it's just, there's no real, like, we're just so far apart, right? They're not really negotiating in good faith. They're not trying hard to get James Harden, right? They just seem like a team that's like, hey, if you're willing to give them to us for free, we'll take them. And look, if they wanted James Harden, like the Clippers, then they would do what they need to do to go get James Harden, right? Like, I fully believe Daryl Morey is correct when he's saying that, like, the Clippers are not interested or not trying hard enough to get James Harden, which leads me to believe that they're not really that interested. Because, again, if you wanted James Harden and you believe James Harden is the missing piece, James Harden is the guy that can help lead you to an NBA championship, why aren't you doing everything you can to go get James Harden? Right? And James Harden wants to be with you. He wants to be a Clipper. Right? So you get a guy that, if, again, assuming you believe he's that guy, you get a guy in James Harden that can come to your organization, be a huge contributor, led the league in assists last year, is a guy that can still go get buckets, right? What's the problem here? Terrence Mann is really the difference, right? Like, if you believe James Harden is the piece to win you an NBA championship, are you really letting Terrence Mann be the deciding factor in that, right? Like, even if you're not a Clippers fan, because if you're familiar with me and my my channels and stuff, then I'm a Laker fan, right? Okay, if I fully believed that James Harden was what the Lakers needed to win an NBA championship, right? And it cost us Rui Hachimura and Austin Reeves and Max Christie and 2 firsts. But I truly believe that James Harden is that missing piece. Again, this is hypothetical. I just want to make that clear because I don't want people in the comments like, why would you trade for James? Again, just hypothetically speaking, if I believed James Harden was it, we go get James Harden, we're the best team in the league, we're winning a championship, right? I would trade all of that. I would give up Austin Reeves. I would give up, look at what the Lakers did with Anthony Davis. Gave up all their young core. People were talking about how they overpaid. They got fleeced. The Lakers are foolish. Blah, 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 blah. And what did it lead to? Remind me again. What was that? Oh, yeah, that's right. An NBA championship. Right? I would do that every year if I could. Right? Because that's the organization's job. So you're the Clippers, who have never won an NBA championship. You've only been to one conference finals in your entire history. You have an owner that has more money than all of the NBA owners combined and is more than happy to pay whatever it costs to do whatever you need. You have the assets, surprisingly, to go get James Harden, and you haven't gotten James Harden yet? Then they don't believe that James Harden makes a difference, which I have said repeatedly. I don't believe he does. I think if you could get James Harden for free, sure. I mean, you're not getting him necessarily for free, but you get my point, right? Like, if you can get him for a bag of peanuts, sure. But even then, like, Terrence Mann, a pick swap, a first-round pick, Batum and Morris is worth James Harden. Like, even right now. I know James Harden isn't, if this was 27-year-old James Harden, this would have been done this time last year, right? Like, it would have been happened. But I understand James Harden's not the same guy he once was. There's question marks about him in the playoffs. I understand that, there's the concern of him being one bad day away from now you have to deal with the headache and you have to deal with the problem because now this was the third team he's done this to. And it's just, I understand all of that. But it's still James Harden. You're still talking about a 20-12 guy who led the league in assists that can be huge for you if need be. And look, I'm not sold on I don't think James Harden makes the Clippers a contender. That's my opinion. I just don't. I think he has a better chance of winning in Philly than he does with the Clippers, as shocking as that may sound. Because one, the East isn't as difficult and deep as the West, right? Two, I think that James Harden would have more freedom, be able to do what he wants to do, and is kind of more needed a bit more. And three, Joel Embiid hasn't been a model of health in the playoffs, but at least he plays, right? At least he's at the games where the Clippers, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, just, you can't count on them, right? And I don't think James Harden is leading you. So I think that there is a very valid argument that James Harden is better off staying with the Sixers than the Clippers if he wants to win, but that's neither here nor there. I definitely think that this is going to get ugly pretty soon. It's just James Harden is trying to play nice for the sake of, kind of having teams want him. But he's gambled on himself all offseason and it just hasn't paid off, right? He thought Houston was going to sign him and all this stuff. And Houston said, instead of signing and bringing in James Harden, we would rather overpay for Fred VanVleet and Dylan Brooks and Jeff Green and all these guys. We'd rather overpay all these guys than bring back James Harden. That tells you a lot. That tells you a lot. And now James Harden wants to go to the Clippers. The Clippers supposedly can get James Harden for Terrence Mann. And the Clippers are reluctant to trade Terrence Mann to get James Harden. If that doesn't tell you everything you need to know about James Harden and the situation that he's dug himself into, because he did this to himself. If that doesn't tell you everything you need to know about the situation that James Harden is in right now, I don't know what to tell you. And look, if you're the Clippers, I fully understand not betting against yourselves, right? The way the Clippers are looking at it is we're the only team that is, one, interested in James Harden, two, willing to trade for James Harden, and three, James Harden wants to actually come here, which scares off other teams because he could be a free agent. Not that I think many teams would want James Harden anyway, but neither here nor there, right? So the Clippers, their argument is hey, we're comfortable, we're good. If you want to give them to us for a bag of peanuts, we'll take it. Otherwise, we're not. But you're talking about look, and I like Terrence Mann. I think he has a lot of potential. I think he's a nice young talent. I think he could be a legit two-way solid guy in this league. He's not James Harden. He's not even James Harden now. And the Clippers aren't in rebuild mode right now. They're in NBA championship or trying to win an NBA championship mode because you have Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, and Russell Westbrook. You're not in hey, maybe this kid will. No, if you really believe James Harden is the difference maker, and you really believe that James Harden, Russell Westbrook, Kawhi Leonard, and Paul George can win you an NBA championship, why aren't you doing this a month ago? Because I think that the Clippers are looking at this the same way that I am. We're not going to be able to rely on Paul George. We're not going to be able to rely on Kawhi Leonard. And we're not going to be able to rely on James Harden come the playoffs. We've already seen what Russell Westbrook and James Harden look like. And, oh yeah, by the way, that was 4 years ago now. And neither of the guys are the same player that they were then. Right? And I just think they're looking at, like, do we really want to pay all this money? Do we really want to get rid of a young guy when the Clippers might not even bring back Kawhi Leonard and Paul George next season? I mean, they've already talked about trading Paul George. He was already in trade rumors and discussions. They just couldn't find anything. There was the reports that came out that the Knicks could have had him. They just thought the asking price was a little too steep for them. Otherwise, he would have been a Knick. So, like, again, if you believe James Harden is the answer, why aren't you going and solving the problem? Especially when all it's going to cost you is picks, which you don't have any anyway, a pick swap, which you don't have any anyway, and Terrence Mann. If you want James Harden, go get him. Right? But James Harden is having a reality check. He's having a reality check. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? Do you agree with me? Yeah, look, if the Clippers were serious about James Harden, they would have already traded for him. Do you think, no, they're just being patient, waiting their time? But that's what Daryl Morey said, right? He said, that they're not taking this serious, right? Which, again, I agree with. I don't think that they're taking this very serious. But however you feel, what your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. Let me know down in the comments.